Kobe.
All right, folks.
What's up, brother?
We're starting it off strong here. This is the first episode back at the podcast. I brought this interview in all the way from Staten Island, New York. My friend, my boy, Louis M. Louis, introduce yourself, man. I just introduced yourself for you. But anyway, me and Lou, we got to know each other last year. We were both out here in Florida, living life. We knew each other from recovery.
Yes, we did.
Louis has been an instrumental support foundation for me in my recovery. He helps countless amounts of other addicts in recovery. He works at a detox center, and he helps a ton of people who are just starting to get clean. So Louis, tell me about how you started this job at the Detox, how it started out.
I went through recovery. I started my journey in New York City. I started my detox in Brooklyn, New York. I went straight to Pennsylvania from Brooklyn. After Brooklyn, I was home in New York for 2 or 3 weeks. I flew down to Florida. I was in PHP, IOP, halfway, 3/4 housing.
So, pause for a second. For the people who may not understand the steps in recovery, explain them.
All right, so basically what you got to do is...
How did it start? It starts with detox.
Yeah, detox is the most vulnerable state that you're going to be in. It's the most hardest, to be honest with you. A lot of people can't deal with it or go through with it or...
Facts.
Don't want to finish it because recovery is a very, very, very slow process. Us as addicts, we like things very fast. We like things our way. We don't like to be told what to do. And there's a lot of learning and changing things in your life. And I'm not talking about just one thing and putting the drugs and the alcohol down. I'm talking about like every single aspect of your life you need to change. So it becomes very overwhelming for an addict. They can't deal with it. That's where relapse comes in. Relapse happens, but you do know addiction is going to kill you. It's going to kill.
It kills millions and millions of people. Just from this fentanyl epidemic that we've had in the United States these past few years, almost 10 years now, maybe more. I had friends pass away from fentanyl back in 2016, I think. Anyway, so we go from detox, and ideally after someone graduates from detox, then they would go to where? PHP?
Well, they would go to residential.
Okay, residential.
That's another step in it. Another vulnerable state.
What's that stage like?
It's basically just like detox, only now your body should physically be over those withdrawals, and now you're going through the mental part of it. Your sleeping patterns, restless legs, all the type of stuff like that.
Nausea, always uncomfortable. You're always having back pains. It feels like your spine doesn't even fit in your body. It's like you're always hot, you're always cold.
Uncomfortable
24/7. And it's painful. But that hump, you eventually get over it you start feeling better in residential. Then you go from residential to PHP, which is partial hospitalization.
Mm-hmm.
What's that stage like?
That's a form of getting out of actual being in a program inside behind locked doors. Now you're going over to PHP, which is a little bit more freedom with more program, more groups, because now you're at the point that you're able to sit there and listen to therapists. You're there to listen to group facilitators. You're there basically to group in PHP. After PHP comes IOP, That's a lot more freedom. Now you're able to go out, get a job. You're allowed to work. I would suggest to get a sponsor. Sponsors definitely help. I used to think absolutely not. There's absolutely no way. Like, I would walk into a room. I would never walk into a meeting and listen to these people tell me what to do and how to live my life. Because I used to think to myself I was cocky and I had everything on my own, and I didn't, obviously. So having someone in my life talking about a sponsor to guide me through these things and help me through these things, I will not, and I repeat, will not go through addiction. I will not go through recovery without asking somebody about my every move. I live my life through my sponsor, and I call my higher power God. You can call your higher power whatever you want. I choose to call him God. He guides me. He's been there through a lot of my addiction, and he saved me through a lot of my addiction. 4 overdoses.
4?
4. Some people don't even get the chance of 1. Some people overdose one time and
That's
die.
right. Yep.
And I've seen it happen to a lot of my friends back in New York.
Can you tell us maybe one of those stories about an overdose without,
Mine?
Yeah, you don't have to go
Okay,
into any details you don't want to. But...
No, I'll go into the deepest one. I'll go into my 4th overdose. I was basically at a point in my life. I hated addiction. I hated the cycle of addiction. I thought I was destined to be a drug addict and die as a drug addict.
Sad reality.
So I said, I'm going to kill myself this time. I'm going to buy enough drugs to go and kill myself. And I did, and I almost accomplished it. If it wasn't for my sister getting in touch with the people that I was with that night and finding me where they left me, I probably would have been dead. And
where'd they leave you?
In my car.
Damn.
And when the paramedics woke me up, I was fucking tight. Like, very heated.
Yeah, you ain't happy when you get woken up from an overdose.
I felt like my plan was interrupted, and I didn't even accomplish killing myself the right way. But I knew that God was on my side, because to wake up from your 4th overdose, getting Narcaned like 5 or 6 times that night, waking up in the hospital, looking around and seeing the people that care about you the most in the hospital, crying, scared. I seen my parents age in my addiction. I seen what I did to my parents in my addiction, and people like that just do not deserve it. They do not deserve to experience those type of things in life from their children. Because remember,
it's
children,
horrifying.
right.
It's horrifying to them,
right.
And putting parents or any family members or even significant others, siblings, anyone through that type of trauma, it could really mess them up. And I've done this myself many times. So when you overdosed, there was fentanyl involved with it?
Well, I mean,
I know you're not a downers guy from my experience of what I know with you. So it's a little shocking for me that you would go so far that shit was so unhappy for you that you would get these crazy drugs,
So growing up in New York City, it was everywhere, to be honest with you, but the pill pandemic really crushed a lot of the world.
Right.
At that time, I was more interested in getting pills and doctor shopping and going out and selling them. I did not start using drugs, hard drugs, until I was 24 years old. I met someone that I was with for a very long time. We got into addiction together. We would doctor shop. We would sell.
Sorry about that. So, you were selling these drugs with this new girlfriend?
Yes.
And what happened from there?
Well, I was selling them, doctor shopping. Doctors got locked up. This is when the pill pandemic was coming pretty much to an end. The pharmacies were connected with the doctors, and you couldn't get more Then one prescription, the doctor that I was going to got locked up.
That's after a while of the pill mills.
Yeah, it was going on for at least 7 to 9, 10 years. And at that point, heroin started making a big hit, because the pills were getting harder to get. They were getting more expensive to get, and heroin became the cheaper option. And I swore to myself I wouldn't do heroin. But the day that I called one of my friends that I used to pick up from, he said, I don't have Roxy's, I have something else. I asked him what it was. He told me what it was. I said, I don't do that shit. He said, it's the same exact high. It's going to hit you faster. You're not going to feel Roxy's anymore. This is all I got.
Right. And how many times do we hear that same story? Like, just the other day, I was watching, I think, the Jersey Shore, and Mike the Situation brought up the same exact story he went through, how he was doing all these Roxy's, all these oxycodone pills, and all of a sudden one day he went to go cop with his friend, and his friend comes back with the heroin, and he got saved from that. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you one thing also. Drugs do not discriminate. It does not matter what status you are in life. It does not matter how much money you have in life.
Facts.
It's the same exact outcome on anything. Rich, poor, black, white, it does not matter. You do not control those drugs. The drugs control you. And when it's time for the drugs to say that your life is over, we all know it happens, and death is final. There's no coming back from that. There's no another chance.
Usually 3 strikes, it's over. But you clearly have had, God has blessed you with another chance. And since he's blessed you with that, you've done some pretty amazing things. How long was your active addiction?
My active addiction started when I was 24. I stopped doing drugs. I'm 37 now. I stopped doing drugs almost 2 years ago. So 35.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it often takes a long time to get it right. You know,
absolutely.
It's a thing. It's taken a ton of times for me to get it right. Ton of times for anybody who's gotten sober to get it right. And if it hasn't, they're most likely not a true alcoholic addict.
Well, I used to think to myself, like, who the fuck wants to go through life sober? Who the fuck lives life sober? Like, how could you go through the battles of living life on life's terms without the use of drugs, without the use of alcohol, to get out of yourself? I don't understand. I never understood it. But there's a better way out there. There's a better way of living.
It's okay.
There's a better way of living, without a doubt. I mean, I'm experiencing it. And this isn't like my first time getting clean. I did get clean once at 20. I had 22 months and I relapsed because I thought to myself, I'm a normal human being. I'm able to have a drink. I'm not an alcoholic, so I could have a drink like a gentleman, right?
How'd it go?
No, the girl that I was with asked me that night. She said, do you feel comfortable coming to a bar with me at my friend's bar? I said, yeah, don't treat me like that. I'm normal. She said, well, I'm just saying it because you're in recovery and I know how that works. So you sure you're comfortable? Yes. As soon as I sat down at the table and the bartender came around asking if everybody wanted drinks, I looked around at every single person in that bar and I said to myself, I'm normal. I could do this. I asked for a Jack and Coke. I got buzzed because I didn't do anything for 22 months. I went outside with her. She said, do you know what you just did? I said, yes, I do. She's like, what do they call that? Relapse? I said, yes. A week later, I was smoking a weed pen with my friend. After the weed pen, 2-3 weeks, I was abusing. When I tell you, like, abusing the shit out of gabapentin. After the gabapentin came dope.
Hold on, whoa. All right, first of all, the weed pens and the weed, some people look at it as drugs. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't. Me personally, I have my ups and downs on weed. I have my own issues with weed as well. I've been a pothead since I was a teenager, and you know, after a while, as an adult, you're just like, damn, I don't want to experience this feeling of like having to smoke weed every day or multiple times a day.
Well, I'll keep it on me. Me personally, I know that I can't do anything. I do know that once I start feeling okay and I start feeling that buzz inside of me, it makes me want to believe to myself that I could do other things moderately, which it never works out that way for me. And I'm keeping it on me personally.
Right.
Some people, listen, I've seen some of my best friends from New York get clean off of weed. They said it helps their withdrawals, it helps their anxiety, it helps panic attacks, like, and they stayed just smoking weed.
Weed is also crazy strong and potent nowadays. The THC levels are up all the way into the 40s now, which is insane. Back in the 70s, 80s, it was probably closer to somewhere around 10. So that's where the scope is. Next subject, you brought up the gabapentin. Explain what gabapentin is to people, because most people don't know what it is, don't know you could actually like fool around with it.
I mean, gabapentin is made for neuropathy. It's made for nerve damage. The feeling that I used to get on gabapentin was different. They say when you use a drug that you don't need inside your body, it works opposite. So I'm believing that that's what it was doing to me, because when I used to take gabapentin, I used to feel like $1 million. Like, but the abuse of it, like, I was going to the doctor, they were prescribing me 3 800s a day.
Which are like horse pills.
Right. A bottle of 90. That bottle of 90 would be gone, like, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, in like 3 or 4 days. I was popping like 20 at a time.
Yeah.
Which,
it's wild.
If you do the math, that's like 16,000 milligrams a day. That's insane for anybody.
Yeah.
That's insane for anybody. I don't even know, like, this is when I say, like, God works in mysterious ways, because when I say I'm blessed beyond belief, I'm blessed beyond belief. I don't even know how I'm still breathing or I'm even here right now. I don't. I seen some of my best friends, like, die, and it took a toll on me. It really did. It hurt a lot. And I'm talking about someone in, like, particular that I'll get to, like, later on, like, the further we move on and along. But I'll save that story for another time. But it was very painful. Yeah. It was very painful seeing someone that you're that close with not here no more, and you have to talk to them through grass and never be able to ever speak to them
or
again.
A Facebook page that they can't even check anymore, you know. So a lot of us have been through that, including myself, and it's horrible. It's really horrible. These lives getting taken from us, especially our generation and the Gen Z as well. Like, and it's nuts. It's like a lot of us addicts blame the government and big pharma for allowing this to happen and allowing our population to get poisoned and be sick and drug addicted and overdosing, dying, going to rehab, going to jail. It's just a fucked up cycle. As for the gabapentin, it also works neurologically on your GABA receptors, which allows what Lou was talking about, getting a little bit of a buzz from it, type of, like, I would call it was like similar to a benzo, like Xanax type buzz. But yeah, it's a nerve damage pill, so it's like, how good can that be for you if you're taking over 10,000 milligrams a day of this drug. And from my experience as well, when I was living in Los Angeles, I was 7-8 years ago in this program, and it was called Beta Shuva, and UCLA doctors would come in and sit in our groups, and they would specifically ask us about gabapentin and how it can get you high and what are you doing for this and that. So I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, what happens next for you?
After that relapse, I got introduced to crack, and crack took me to a whole different experience from what I was doing as far as opiates and downers. Crack, I remember I went to my dealer that day and said I want a bag, and he was like, "You don't do that though." I said, "I understand, but I want to smoke." And he said, "Well, I'm letting you know right now, this is a different devil. You already have a devil on your back. This is a whole different game, bro." Was he gonna tell me no to sell me it and make money? No. He gave it to me, and I smoked. And the next,
what did it feel like the first time you smoked?
Listen, I don't glorify drugs. I don't. But like, the crack experience when I first started smoking was probably, when I smoked the first time, I said to myself, what the fuck have I been missing? I fell in love, like, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that, like, I fell in love, and it wasn't even my drug of choice. My first love is opiates. It always was, but when I started smoking crack, I wasn't able to do one without the other, because I don't like to come down to crack. But when you're up, and you feel good. But crack was definitely a bad experience. And
of course,
at the end of that run, when I was in my house, and after that fourth overdose, and I settled down and I came to, and I was withdrawing on my couch for 6 fucking days with nothing, cold turkey. I could not take it anymore. I wanted to jump out of my fucking skin. I walked into my kitchen to my parents and I said, listen, it's either I get help or I'm gonna run out and go get high. Like, that's how I'm feeling right now. I need help. I cannot do this by myself. And that's when I started the experience of like wanting to stay clean and do the right thing. And ever since then, it's been that way. And listen, life's not perfect and it never will be. There's always ups and downs. Nothing is ever perfect. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how much money you have. People always have problems. There's people that are celebrities that go through problems. But there's a better way of dealing with these things than the use of drugs. Because I used to believe that drugs were making my issues better, and I was forgetting about them, and it was coping, and it was numbing these feelings and all these things, but it wasn't. Every single time I came out of that high, my problems were worse. They were bigger. There was more of a mess behind me. That's not how I look at it these days. The only thing that I work on nowadays is patience and tolerance with a lot of things. I had a very bad anger problem through that whole addiction. I even had an anger problem even before my addiction started. I tried to like sit there.
So it probably amplified it for you.
Yeah. So I try to sit here now and like breathe and calm, reach out to somebody that's not in active addiction, because they're not going to help me through it. Like, unfortunately, like the friends that I have back home, listen, I can't call them. I can't say I'm going through a problem, I need help, because those people are going to get me high quicker than they're going to keep me sober. So,
sometimes you just gotta cut them off, even if they've been your friends for a long time. Sometimes you just outgrow friends. You outgrow old friends.
And listen, I love them. They're like my brothers, but we just right now we just have nothing in common. And I don't judge people, and I never will. But they struggle like we all did. But me and them have nothing in common right now, and I can't go hang out with them, and I can't even go back to New York because they do say people, places, and things. And I used to think that that was bullshit too, because like you bring yourself wherever you go. But I do know if I'm in New York City and where I'm from, Staten Island, it's easier for me to slip back into old patterns and get back into that routine of comfortability of being home. And I love chaos. I just love the chaotic scene of everything. I love the street life of everything. It's like people like make easy money. It's fast money. I was addicted. I was addicted to that also.
Lifestyle. Yeah.
Yes, I was addicted to the lifestyle also, and I just honestly I don't miss it anymore.
Tell us a little bit about growing up on Staten Island, because that's a big part of your personality. Obviously, something I love about you. Tell us a little bit about what it was like there, and if you saw any signs from like an early age that.
Yeah. I definitely seen early signs of it, and I was a master manipulator.
Yeah.
I took advantage of the only people that are still in my corner till this day, my parents. I love them dearly, like I really do, and they help me and support me through everything that I've been through, but I seen an out. When I was in addiction, I'm not gonna lie, like something that hurt me in the long run was being spoiled. Being spoiled as a kid.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Like, I knew there were no consequences. There was no repercussions to my actions. I was getting rewarded for bad behavior, and I always knew my parents were there to bail me out. So I continued to run with it my whole active addiction. And they kept doing it. And it hurt me in the long run because I had no responsibilities. I didn't have to pay no fucking bills. I lived in my house with my parents. So I said, why the fuck not? I can keep living this way because I'm always going to be bailed out. It was thinking like an immature teenager. I could understand like growing up from 15 to like, I'll even push it to like 19 or 20. But when it got past that age and I had to start becoming a man and growing up, I just never did. I never did. And I'm not gonna lie, like I was very immature. Like I just continued to thrive on that.
Did you were you using in high school, do you think? Like were you ever using in high school?
I mean, we started out like basic shit, smoking weed, you know, like getting drunk on the fucking weekends, having a bottle of cough syrup in the woods, like hanging out with your friends, taking shrooms, like shit like that. But like, it was never really an issue as far as like being held hostage to these drugs that they do to you today. And when I met opiates, that's what it did to me. And it fucked a lot of my life up for a very long time and hurt a lot of people behind me.
Yeah. And, you know, I give you so much respect for being able to share details like this on the podcast, because you'd be surprised at how little people can really get honest to this degree, especially in front of an audience. Tell us about your journey this time around, getting sober and getting it right, and what helped you. Was it the people around you? Was it your job? Was it the program? What was it?
Well, programming I definitely took serious this time around. Like I said earlier, I never believed in a sponsor. I never believed in people helping you through a sober network. But those are like key, because no matter what you're going through, no matter what time it is, like to have a sponsor like that you could call that you really connect with, and like that's the most important thing. You have to find somebody that you click with and you could talk to like that and trust everything that you're saying will not be let out on the streets, because there's a lot of that. We all know that. A lot of people talk and your business is out there very quick. So I had a hard time trusting people, but when I met my sponsor now, he helps me through everything. I trust him with my life, and there's nothing I won't tell him. There's no decision in my life that I'll make without asking him or talking to him about it. And I'm talking about everything. I'm not even talking about just drugs. I'm talking about relationships. If I could go see certain people, if it's okay, if he thinks it's all right, what his opinion is on it. Should I go back to New York and visit my family?
He's like an advisor.
Right.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot. And another thing, therapy. Therapists, like, really help.
Good therapists do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Meetings and sponsorship, it's very important. But the therapist, like, helping you through things and giving her every single, like, aspect of your life, every single detail of your life. She knows, like, your deepest, darkest secrets. She knows everything that you've been through. That's what they're there for, to talk to you about. And therapy helps a lot. Therapy helped me more than anything.
A funny story is when I first met Lewis, and we were in the same place, we had this therapist, and I, like, basically fell in love with her.
Won't say no names.
Won't say no names. But she was gorgeous. She was sweet. Oh my God. And Lou had her number because she used to be his therapist and shared her cell with him. And I managed to get Lou to share with me that number, and then I proceeded to shoot my shot with the therapist while still in the program where the therapist worked.
Don't fall in love with your therapist.
Rule one. But anyway, that shit was funny as hell.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is very hard. There's very attractive therapists out there. There are. And it's very hard to, like, separate, like, falling for these people because how attractive they are and, like, how much they know about you and the connection that you guys have with each other. But
that's why it might be recommended.
It don't work.
It might be recommended to have, like, a same-sex therapist. That would be probably the most ideal. What else? Tell me a little bit about the best foods in Staten Island, because we're both New Yorkers. We're both in Florida.
I'll tell you something.
I miss that New York style.
Bacon, egg, and cheese in Florida suck.
They don't have good rolls or delis here at
Bacon,
all.
egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup, New York City, the best. The pizza, the best. It's just, come on, New York, we know. Anybody that's from New York knows that we have probably the best food. I'm not just saying that because I'm from New York. Like, I'm saying that with my heart. Like, that's the truth. Like, we have the best food. We might have some dirty ass water, but, like, it's the best water for the food.
For some strange reason. That's funny.
I know people down here that get the water from New York delivered here to make their food.
Yeah. It still doesn't taste the same. Probably gets hot or like polluted. Anyway, what else was a good thing I wanted to talk to you about? Oh yeah, with New York, current state of New York, it's like, did you hear about that truckers strike that's currently going down? What's happening is basically a bunch of truckers have decided to go on strike in the state of New York and not make any of their deliveries there because Trump got sued for like 350 something million. Yeah, and a lot of people know that it's politically motivated and they think it's messed up, and all real estate developers inflate their prices. That's just my view.
I don't like talking politics.
Me either.
But Trump.
You don't like talking politics with Trump. Yeah.
Vote for Trump.
he's definitely the better option that we got right now. But
listen, you want a guy that's going to control the world and keep the world in order? Yeah, he might have a big mouth. He might say how he feels, but that's exactly the type of leader that we need in office, because that's someone that's going to get something done. That's somebody that doesn't take shit from no one, and that's somebody that a lot of the world leaders respect.
Yeah, and that's very important as well, with the respect thing and getting shit done. Transparency. You would see this guy tweeting while he's president all day long, everything he's doing, and now it's like a senile old man. You don't know what the hell's going on. But anyway, let's jump off politics. Let's discuss what's the subject that you would like to talk about. Could be anything.
Whatever you wanna talk about.
I was like gonna jump right from like addiction or recovery to conspiracy theories, but I'm not doing that. We'll save that for another time. But let's just, let's keep it short and sweet today, because it's, this is a very inspirational podcast. I'm just hearing what you had to say about that.
I could say one more thing before we end it also. Relationships starting in recovery are very tricky, because getting involved with someone early in recovery, dealing with someone else's shit, then dealing with your shit on top of it, and trying to keep sane and try to stay together, trying to keep your sobriety like good, it's hard, because we become very overwhelmed, and it becomes anxiety, it becomes anxious, it becomes a lot of worrying, and dealing with all that in early recovery is hard for an addict, because we don't like to deal with shit like that. We won't. And another main cause of relapse is because of relationships, and I'm not just talking about guys with girls, I'm talking about girls with guys, vice versa. It works both ways, but I would try to stay on your own for a certain amount of time till you really find yourself and really know how to deal with things like that as far as a relationship wise, because like I said, it's tricky and it becomes very hard and difficult.
And I want to also add to that, for all of you people in recovery out there, you are not destined to be with another addict in recovery or recovering addict all the fucking time, just because you've done some shit in your life and you have to get over it. Everyone evolves, everyone changes, everyone grows up. Every 7 years, all the cells and atoms in your body renew. So don't be fooled like, oh shit, all these bitches are gonna judge me. None of them are gonna accept me for who I am and like me. That shit is not true at all. You could sometimes having a partner that isn't in the field is actually very conducive to your own life, because you can see, what being like a normie, as we would call it, is like, and see how they live and see what examples they could set for you and how you can mimic what they do to live a normal life. So don't feel bad about yourselves. It's we all fall down, we all make mistakes. It's all about getting back up. He did it after 4 times. I've done it myself. It's all about consistency. Never give up, never quit.
And never quit on the people that truly, truly care about you, because those are the only people that are still going to be in your corner when everybody else from your street life or growing up that you think are your friends, that honestly, some of them like hate on your success, and like it's pretty sad, but I realized the most important people in your life that truly care about you and want the best for you, those are the people you need to keep around, because nobody else gives a fuck. At the end of the day, when you're in the ground and you're underneath grass and you're on your way to Heaven's Gate, wherever we go, nobody cares. They forget about you. You're done. You're gone. That's just it's just a reality of it.
That's true. That's true. We all, I believe, after we go, it's not all over. I believe there's more life to be lived after death. So don't get caught up on death, and don't let it scare you, because it's just the next part of the journey. But anyway, Lou, anything else to add before we go?
No, I'm looking forward to the next one.
Me too, brother.
Thanks, bro.
It's been a pleasure. Over and out. We'll be back soon for another pod. Thanks,
guys.